Between the words that are spoken and the words that are heard, may we encounter your living word. Amen. Well, we made it. Happy Valentine's Day, happy Transfiguration Sunday, and as you can tell, happy Teddy Bear Sunday. Today is a special day indeed in the life of our church. It's a day that's filled with celebration, a day that seems to overflow with a sense of love, a pouring out of God's grace in unexpected ways as we seek to identify our call to love and serve in the world. It's fitting to me that today is Transfiguration Sunday, the day that we hear the story of Jesus and his closest disciples, his closest followers, up on a mountain by themselves ready to pray. And there, Jesus is transformed. You know, I've always been captivated by this particular bit of text because it has so much vivid detail about clothing. Jesus' clothes become so white as he stands before them, so white that no one on earth could bleach them that way. What is it about this whiteness that seems to be so important? This image of God clothed in earthly things that are beyond our making. Well, now that's one thing to think about, this image of Jesus. But I guess the part that's even more interesting to me is the fact that God's voice doesn't come from the place of Jesus being transfigured. Instead, we hear God's voice coming from a cloud that this text says overshadowed the disciples. You know, it occurs to me that it is so easy for us to find God's voice in dazzling whiteness, to find God's voice in areas of our lives that seem bright and vibrant and radiant. It's there all around us in our pursuit of happiness, in our pursuit of joy, and our willingness to try and give that joy to other people. That God has always made sense to me as well. And so today's text of the Transfiguration is one that stops me dead in my tracks every time I read it. What do we make of a God who speaks from a cloud? A God who speaks from the very shadows that threatened to overwhelm the people there, the very shadows that left these disciples afraid, so afraid that they didn't know what to do. It occurs to me that today's text is really an invitation for us as we consider what the work of transfiguration is, what the work of transformation as a Christian looks like. Today, we are reminded that it's all too easy to speak joy when things are easy for us. It's all too easy for us to speak love when love isn't something that we have to work very hard for. But today's text asks us to consider what it is that we say when shadows threaten to overwhelm the people around us that we love the most, or even ourselves. These teddy bears will soon be picked up, and the ones that you will purchase will also go with a group to the Department of Children and Family Services in Chicago. Each of these bears represents a way of love, a way of living into a moment for us. Now, the history of this at this church is something that is so beautiful and something that I wish that I could see as well. But in this strange year, we don't see it the same way. Normally, there would be people coming forward, processing in with these bears and placing them on our altar. Each one a little piece of hope waiting to go out to a child in need. But this year, they were lovingly placed instead before our service began, a means of us remembering what we are here to do. It occurs to me that we don't often tell the story of why we are doing an action like this, why we're taking this step. That's what transfiguration is all about, though, today. You see, each and every one of these teddy bears isn't going to do very much at all on its own. After all, it's just a piece of cloth. There's not anything particularly dazzling about it by itself. And yet, it will go to a child who no longer has the same kind of home that you or I would have. It goes to a child who might be sitting in a place of shadow themselves, wondering how it is that they don't experience the love that they might see on television, the love that they might hear about as we talk about this St. Valentine's Day. This will go to a child that will be wondering, is there love for them at all in the world? Now, this teddy bear won't make any of those things better. This bear won't fix what that child is experiencing, but just maybe, from the shadows that surround that child, there will be one moment where that child will look at this small, meager gift and see only Jesus, still speaking from the very shadows that frightened them before. And then we will all be left to wonder, is this where we build our house? Is this the work that we are called to? That is at the very heart of the question that these disciples ask. Is this where we are to stay? Well, our text shows us that Jesus walks with them down from the mountain. You see, that's what Global Mission Day, that's what Teddy Bear Sunday is all about after all. It's to recognize the places in our world, the shadows that we are called to move into, but not only to sit there to show everyone that Jesus is there with us, that Jesus is there working, transforming life in the midst of the things that challenge us. You see, we are asked to move into places not because we can fix them, but precisely because we can't fix them. But what we can do is show that God's love can never be stopped in the midst of those things that threaten our livelihood. Amen.